Hey, welcome back to my evil empire in World Painter. I guess it's not so evil. It's on its way to being evil. So how do you make a custom map feel mysterious? I've been sitting on my stone horse contemplating that question, and I've come up with a number of tips. In this video, I'm going to be working on the upper regions of the map. I call it the far north. I'm going to be putting in some epic cliffs and dramatic coastlines and laying in some mountains. I'll give you some general tips and guidelines on how to create that effect of mysteriousness in your custom map. I just wanted to quickly show you, apart from World Painter, I've taken my custom map and I've rendered this grid over it. Each square represents 1,000 by 1,000 blocks. I just wanted to get a sense of scale. Having such a large map, just taking some time to sketch out the terrain features really helped me overcome that initial feeling of where do I begin, and why this map is so different than any other custom map I would normally be doing. I have some really specific goals for this map, if you recall. There's a reason why I have such a large map. Every feature of this map will be unique from all the other features of the map. It's very important to me, because the last thing I want to do is just place things on my map arbitrarily. I want everything to have a reason. I'll be putting a hell of a lot of detail into this terrain, and that's going to take a great deal of time and patience. I normally would not be doing such a large map. In fact, I don't advise it for most of you to do this. I want to give you guys a crash course or a speed tutorial, because you'll be seeing me terraform this map in a sort of time-lapse fashion, and I will be explaining what I'm doing along the way, but I won't be spending a lot of time as far as how-tos. Using these custom brushes takes a certain finesse. I'll show you some examples of various landforms that I'll be doing. So let's build some different kind of mountains. You can use a combination technique where you can get that. You can use one brush just to get the texture and then use another brush to raise the mountain. Right now I'm going to use a brush that gives me sharp, jagged peaks. And I'll show you. I'm using the up and down tool, and I'll first lay in the texture I want. This one just to give me that jaggedness. Actually, I have to fix this brush because it's got these ugly corners. So I'm going to actually smooth that out. Just around the edge right there. That's square. Okay, so I've got this texture. I can raise a mountain right here. See that? So a lot of times I use a combination of different techniques to get a mountain how I want it. Let's do another kind of mountain. Not a sharp, jagged texture, but it's a very rocky mountain. Doesn't have a lot of soil on it. So I could start with a texture like this cracked 3 brush. Something like that. Or I could use the cracked 1 and put in these kind of textures here. And then I could come in and raise a mountain over that. And watch how it holds that texture. Now other times there's certain situations where I want to create mountains where the sides of the mountains are very steep. They go up and then there's a plateau on top. So I get one of these brushes like a mountain range, and I make my brush small, and I'll go like this. I'll start laying in these mountain ranges. I'll go to like 150. Okay, those are very steep, but that's fine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my leveling tool and level it out. I'm being very sloppy with this, but this is just to make a point. So I level that out, and then I take like mountain 1 and build that plateau up a little bit, not much. You see the effect there? And then I can come in with like one of my cracked brushes and give it that jagged texture that I'm looking for by right-clicking on the mouse over this. Oh, actually I want to back up. There's another technique I want to show you. It's called masking. When I'm doing something like this, I don't want to affect the terrain below the mountain. If I just want to do the top mountain, I use this option here, at or above. I find the level that I'm working with. This is roughly 140. I'm going to say 140. At or above 140. I use this tool a lot, or this option here, to mask the area that I'm working on. So now we've masked it. It's only going to affect the top of the mountain now. As you can see, we have different kinds of mountains here. I know these look like shit. This is just a quick run through. So these kind of mountains right here, you see a lot of those in Norway, where they have these steep sides and then it sort of flattens out on top, and the mountains there are usually very rocky. And then you see here, these mountains here are more like the kinds of mountains you see like in the Alps. These ones right here are more like ones you would find in high mountains in the desert. One of these two are more like desert mountains. Anyway, let's do some coastal cliffs. Base level 62, 63. Let's go up to level 70, 80. Let's go up to 80. Level it out. What I like to do for, if I want sharp cliffs, is I like to use the cracked one brush. Because if you notice, that's the one brush on here that's totally black. So it's going to give you abrupt edges. I come in from the sides like this. See, I can vary it. See, just right here, this little piece of this island, it's got some beachy area for us to play on. I want to create a tall bluff right here. You know, what you might see like a lighthouse. Always use a smooth tool to smooth that out a bit, and then I can add some texture up here on top. If I want it to look rocky, I can lightly just create some roughness with this brush, rotate it around, or I can come in with this one, also create some roughness about it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's the majority of the techniques I'll be using. I hope that helped. I know I was a bit sloppy in my demonstration, but I hope I got the point across. Here I am, I've got a blank canvas, and I just like to come in with, say, the Mountain 1 brush and sort of sketch out my mountains. I'm just raising the terrain a little bit. How do you make your map feel mysterious when someone explores it? It's a good question. I've never seen a guide on how to make a landscape feel mysterious. Well, I'm giving you a guide right now. I've come up with some general principles that stand a good chance of creating that mood. It's not going to happen by accident. You have to build this mood. It takes a number of different principles working together to create that feeling. The theme of the coastlines in this northern region is all about rocky cliffs. If you venture into this part of the world, just a very overall rugged place. Excessive cliffs. You don't find any other area of the map that has cliffs like this. This whole piece of land on this area of the map has a lot of plateaus, rocky, rough plateaus. So creating that overall aura of mysteriousness about your map. What I have to say might be a bit of a surprise to you. The overall principles are pretty simple, but executing them effectively requires a great deal of time and effort. If you come up here, you'll have a lot of jaggedy rocks to play on. I just love this cracked one brush. It just has so many uses. I use it for almost everything on these rocky coasts. This water channel here between these islands, it could have been carved out by glaciers over time. The mountains are very high. I'm not obsessing over how it got that way. It just looks like it could have been that way. We see plenty of this in Norway. I don't like to constrain myself by rigid rules about how things have to be. If it looks natural and it looks good, that's good enough for me. Look at that. The reward of putting in so much detail is when you get to see it in game. And this isn't even painted. You see it as soil right now, but it's going to be mostly rock and mossy stone with a little bit of grass on top. How do you make a landscape feel mysterious? As I see it, there's basically a handful of factors that need to be combined to build that feeling. Number one is anything that's mysterious, or at the very least interesting, provokes questions that draw your interest. Makes you wonder. You want to find out more about it. Achieving this is it's more to do with how you shape the land, how you place things. I'll give you an example. Let's say I create a dramatically massive mountain. I mean, you're walking up to it and you look up and it just reaches far into the sky. You can't even see the top of this mountain. It's just ominous. Now I could place a village. The village would serve no purpose towards our goal if I put it in some boring place like a plain or by a river or whatever. But if I chose to place that village right at the base of this ominous mountain and then have like a road going through the village, and then having that road extend and go up the mountain, I could even make that road look like it had fallen into decay, like it was not used as much, or maybe it was overgrown. Or so when you come into this village, you find it's a little village. You find that there's NPCs in it and whatever, and then you could look and see this road going up the mountain, and seeing that it's not used very much and nobody wants to travel up it. You know, that's an example of, that's one way. Right here I'm creating a sharp land spike that comes out of the ocean, and I'm trying to make it smaller but steeper by just eroding the edges away. Now this piece right here, I'm creating a tall bluff. It goes up really high and then it just sort of it flattens out more on the top. I just love it when you get to see, you know, you put in all this detail and then you see how it comes out in game. It makes it so worth it.
No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures.
This area is really cool. This is just a big, rocky sort of inlet Look at those tide pools.
And yet, across the gulf of space,
Do you see what I'm doing here?
immeasurably superior.
I'm creating very unnatural forms underwater. And can you imagine why I would do that? That's not something you would do in the overworld or on land. I've never seen anybody build underwater, ancient underwater structures. But, you know, it's there. I have no idea what would cause somebody to swim underwater and actually find that. But it's just added detail that is findable in my map. Anyway, getting back to the subject of making your landscape feel mysterious. The other critical component is detail, detail, detail. You want to put a lot of detail into things. For example, all the coastal cliffs and everything you see me working on in this video has a tremendous amount of detail. And there'll be even more detail as I paint all the rocks and grass, etc. Remember, not all things that are mysterious in the real world work in Minecraft. I'll give you an example. Let's just imagine, just as a scenario, that I'm a city dweller and one day I want to get out of the city and I want to take a long hike out in nature. And from my house out in the city, I can see distant mountain ranges. So I get in my car and I drive towards those mountains. And as I get towards the base of these mountains, there's an entrance to a logging road. So I park my car by the gate and I get out and start hiking. I spend a good 6 hours just hiking up the mountain, up logging roads. And somewhere along the way, I see a little logging road that branches off the main logging road that looks very just overgrown, like it hasn't been used in like 10 years. And so I walk down that pathway and after a while I come into a clearing that has a house. And this house is out in the middle of nowhere, and it may not even be abandoned. Maybe someone's still living there. Maybe the house is in pretty good condition. But it doesn't have any roads leading to it other than this overgrown pathway that I found getting to the house. That would be pretty mysterious if I found that in real life. But it doesn't really work that way in Minecraft because everywhere is the middle of nowhere. So you could, you know, see, it doesn't work the same way. Another critical element of creating the mysteriousness of your landscape is making everything dramatic. You see a lot of abrupt cliffs all along the coastline in this far north region of my map. Some might say it's an excessive amount of cliffs. There are a lot of cliffs. And some of these cliffs are very, very high. They're not common in real life, but they do happen. There are places in the world that have these kind of coastlines. So we can't say that they're unnatural because they're perfectly natural. They're just dramatic, and that's the effect we want. And then the other part of that, like I was saying earlier in the video, is having each area of the map unique from every other area of the map. This way, when you discover a new place in the map, it's a new experience. It's a rich experience. It's an experience that creates a feeling. And this is very different than in vanilla Minecraft because the whole map is just a patchwork of biomes, as you know. And when you find a new area, it's like, so what? I found a taiga biome. I found a desert. Whoop-de-doo. There's lots of deserts around the map. You see what I'm saying? This piece of land right here has a long ribbon of very high cliffs. Now right here, I'm going to show you an image, a coastline. I found this online. This is what I was talking about about just being extreme and dramatic. This is a very dramatic coastal region of the map. I even plan on making a smooth transition from, if you're venturing from the south, you would have just calmer, more peaceful kind of landscapes. And then as you venture north, you get to the northernmost coast of this map, and it's just the most extreme coastal cliffs you have ever seen. It mirrors the evil, mysterious mood of the Arctic continent. So it almost feels like you have traveled to this northernmost coast, and then you look at the cliffs and you feel like you're almost in an alien world, or that an evil has taken over the land. Obviously we're not in Hobbiton anymore, Mr. Frodo. That's what I was talking about, of extremes in the landscape. And then the last major critical factor of creating the mysteriousness is scale. When it's large, you have to venture for a long time to get to a different area. It isn't like you can see 5 different biomes within the same viewing distance, on your screen. It's a journey to get anywhere on the map. Building that effect, when you discover a new area, it's special and it's dramatic. When all of these factors are put together, it builds this feeling of, it creates an aura of mysteriousness. It draws you in. That's what we want. We want it to pull you in. This effect was achieved very well in an old game from the Nintendo 64. You guys probably haven't played this, but it's called Aiden Chronicles: The Last Mage. And that map did have an aura of mysteriousness, and it had all these factors that I'm discussing. So what I'm creating here is this broad, rugged mountain, as you see. It's one of those mountains that would be a lot of fun with, say, the backpack mod, or the camping mod would really be good for this. If you go up into these mountains, it's one of those mountains that you can take your backpack and you might just get lost in the mountains or go crazy. Probably won't make it out alive. I need to spend some time just shaping these valleys along the mountains here. I want to get a lot of blend of smooth snow in different valleys and channels, and then really rugged rocky peaks. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Do you have any suggestions on how I should do these videos, as far as, do you want to see more detailed, slower clips of me terraforming? Do you want to see fast time lapse of the whole project? Do you want to see a mixture? I would really appreciate your feedback as far as what these videos should be like in the coming episodes of this series. It would really help production and just making this series the best it can be. Okay, well, that said, thank you for watching, and please comment, rate, and join my Evo Empire. Click that subscribe button. Okay, bye-bye.